Parents secretly charged $115,000 on my credit card for my sister's Europe trip. So I reported it as fraud, leading to major family fallout. It was one of those moments in life that changes everything, a betrayal that cuts so deep you begin to question the very meaning of family. Alex, a young professional in his late 20s, never expected that the people who raised him would put him in a situation where his trust, finances, and emotions would be tested to the breaking point. This story isn't just about money, it's about boundaries, self-respect, and the difficult choices one has to make when standing up to those who are supposed to love them unconditionally. Alex had always been the responsible one. From a young age, he had been the sibling who studied hard, worked through high school, and managed to save up for the things he wanted. He even saved up for a gaming system when he was just 16, only to find out that his parents had already bought one for his younger sister, Emma. As a surprise, it was a subtle but heartbreaking reminder of his place in the family. Emma, on the other hand, was the darling, the one who received the rewards without the hard work. Alex tried not to let it bother him too much. After all, she was his sister, and he loved her. He always told himself it was just how families worked. But nothing could have prepared him for the shock he experienced when his mother casually mentioned that they had charged Emma's graduation trip to his credit card, a whopping $115. His parents had always been a little unconventional, but this was an outright violation of trust. They used his credit card, without his knowledge or permission, to fund a month-long, extravagant European vacation for Emma. And to make matters worse, when Alex confronted them, they treated him like he was the problem, dismissing his concerns and calling him selfish. The emotional roller coaster started there, and Alex found himself in an agonizing position. On one hand, he loved his family and didn't want to be the one to cause a rift, especially on an occasion as important as his sister's graduation. On the other hand, he couldn't ignore the financial burden his parents had thrust upon him or the principle behind it. This was more than just money. It was about the complete disregard for his autonomy and the expectation that he would silently bear the consequences. The issue brought years of resentment to the surface, times when Emma had been favored, when his parents had treated him like he was simply there to support her and nothing more. But this was a step too far. Alex felt like he had no other choice but to report the unauthorized transaction as fraud, knowing full well it would cancel Emma's dream trip and infuriate his parents. The weight of that decision crushed him, but he had to stand up for himself. The ensuing fallout was swift and brutal. His parents called him selfish. His sister cried and accused him of jealousy. And even some extended family members reached out, urging him to take one for the team and let it go. This situation went beyond family drama. It became a lesson about personal boundaries and the challenges of navigating toxic family dynamics. Alex reached out to friends, some of whom suggested taking legal action, while others simply listened and offered their support. A friend of his who was a lawyer advised that what his parents had done was, in fact, illegal and that Alex had every right to defend himself, even if it meant bringing legal consequences against his own family. It was a chilling thought. Soon his parents, and Alex wasn't sure he could live with that. So, instead, he decided to put his foot down without taking it to court. He contacted the credit card company again, explaining the situation, and they agreed to investigate the charges. Throughout this ordeal, Alex realized that his parents' behavior had always been about control. His mother's dismissive attitude, the expectation that he should support Emma without question, the subtle manipulation, it all added up to a pattern of mistreatment that he had allowed for far too long. Setting boundaries with family isn't easy, but Alex knew it was necessary for his own well-being. So, he made the hardest decision of all. He decided to cut contact with his parents, at least for the time being, until they could respect him and his boundaries. It wasn't just about the money, it was about valuing himself enough to say, "No, this is not okay." The following weeks were some of the hardest of his life. His sister went on social media, painting him as the villain, the spiteful older brother who had ruined her graduation gift. He received angry messages from relatives who had only heard one side of the story. It seemed like everyone had an opinion, but no one wanted to hear his perspective. Alex knew that if he didn't stand his ground now, this behavior would only continue. But then, something unexpected happened. One of his aunts reached out, not to scold him, but to support him. She shared stories of how his mother had always been financially irresponsible, even when they were younger, and how she had taken advantage of other family members in the past. The conversation was a turning point for Alex. He realized that this wasn't just about Emma's trip, it was about breaking a cycle of behavior that had been going on for years, perhaps even generations. With the support of his aunt and a few close friends, Alex began to rebuild. He took steps to secure his financial information, changed all his passwords, and even started seeing a therapist to work through the emotional turmoil of standing up to his family. The therapy sessions helped him understand that his desire to keep the peace had often come at his own expense, and that sometimes, the only way to truly keep the peace is to stand up for oneself. Despite everything, Alex still loved his sister. He understood that Emma had been coddled, that she didn't know any better because she had never been forced to. And slowly, after the dust settled, she began to come around. She reached out to Alex with a heartfelt apology, admitting that she had been wrong to expect him to pay for her trip and that she hadn't realized how much pressure their parents had put on him over the years. It wasn't an instant fix, but it was a start, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could be different in the future. The ordeal left Alex with many lessons. One of the biggest was the importance of boundaries. Sometimes, the people who love us the most are also the ones who hurt us the most. And it's up to us to decide how much we are willing to tolerate. Setting boundaries isn't about cutting people out of your life. It's about ensuring that the relationships you keep are healthy and respectful. It's about teaching others how to treat you, even if that means facing backlash or being misunderstood. In the end, Alex's parents didn't fully understand why he did what he did. They continued to see him as ungrateful, as the son who turned his back on his family. But Alex knew better. He knew that protecting his mental and financial well-being was not selfish. It was necessary. He had spent years being the responsible one, the one who quietly accepted unfair treatment. And it was time for that to change. He realized that love doesn't mean sacrificing your happiness and well-being for others, especially when they aren't willing to respect your boundaries. Through this experience, Alex also learned the value of true support. The friends and family members who stood by him, who understood and respected his decision, became his rock. They helped him see that he wasn't alone, that his feelings were valid, and that he had every right to stand up for himself. His aunt, in particular, became a close ally, someone he could turn to for advice and support. She helped him see that family is not just about blood. It's about the people who are there for you when you need them. The people who respect you and want the best for you. As Alex looks to the future, he knows that his relationship with his parents may never be the same. He knows that there will always be a part of him that wishes things could be different, that his parents could see things from his perspective and understand the hurt they caused. But he also knows that he can't change them. All he can do is protect himself and hope that, in time, they will come to understand why he made the choices he did. This story isn't just about family betrayal, it's about resilience, self-respect, and the courage it takes to stand up for yourself, even when it means standing alone. Alex's journey serves as a reminder that sometimes, the hardest thing to do is also the right thing to do. It's about knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and refusing to be taken advantage of, no matter who is doing the taking. For anyone who has ever been in a similar situation, Alex's story is a powerful reminder that it's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first, even when others call you selfish for it. In the end, the people who truly love you will understand and respect your decision. And those who don't, well, maybe they were never really on your side to begin with. Alex's story is one of growth, of finding strength in the face of betrayal, and of learning to value oneself above all else. It's about understanding that love doesn't mean giving endlessly without receiving respect in return. It's about realizing that sometimes, walking away is the best thing you can do for yourself. And that's exactly what Alex did. He walked away, not out of anger or spite, but out of love for himself and the belief that he deserved better. Parents forced me to cancel my engagement party for my golden child brother's graduation. Now they're mad because relatives chose my party. In a world where family approval often weighs heavily on personal decisions, the journey to self-worth and fulfillment sometimes requires setting boundaries. This story unfolds around a young man, let's call him Alex, whose engagement celebration was overshadowed by family conflicts and a long history of sibling favoritism. Alex, a 28-year-old, had recently proposed to his high school sweetheart, Nina, whom he had loved for over a decade. This engagement was a milestone for both of them, a cherished moment they wanted to celebrate with family and friends. But, amidst the joy of planning, they encountered unexpected resistance from Alex's own parents. Not only had they shown little interest in his happiness over the years, but they had also prioritized his younger brother, Leon, in nearly every family affair. Now, they wanted Alex to cancel his engagement party to accommodate Leon's graduation celebration. To understand the roots of this conflict, let's step back into Alex's childhood. Growing up, he had been a bright and ambitious child. Yet somehow, his achievements always seemed to be overshadowed by Leon's. Even if they were smaller or less significant, Alex still remembers his own high school graduation, which was marked only by a simple, "congratulations," from his parents. Meanwhile, Leon's middle school graduation had been a grand affair, celebrated with a big family party, complete with decorations and a rented venue. Each of Leon's accomplishments, no matter how modest, was celebrated with enthusiasm and admiration, while Alex's milestones often went unnoticed. Over time, these disparities in treatment began to weigh on Alex, leading him to question his place in the family. He loved his parents but couldn't help feeling neglected. His brother, Leon, who was often described as the golden child, had a more laid-back approach to life and occasionally dabbled in different ventures without lasting commitment. Leon's decisions were often celebrated or forgiven by their parents, even when they led to failure. For example, when Leon invested in a startup that lost a considerable amount of family money, their parents brushed it off, chalking it up to experience. They didn't hold him accountable, instead continuing to support his ventures, hoping one would eventually succeed. When Alex announced his engagement, he believed it would be a chance to finally feel valued by his family, to be celebrated for reaching a significant life milestone. But shortly after invitations went out, his parents called with a demand. They wanted him to cancel his engagement party so they could throw a graduation celebration for Leon on the same day. To them, it seemed logical to prioritize Leon's accomplishment, even though Alex had already shared his plans. Alex felt blindsided, betrayed by the people he hoped would support him the most. This request was not just a disappointment, it was a reminder of years of similar treatment. A pattern where his achievements were downplayed, and his needs came second to Leon's. When he politely declined to change his plans, his parents became increasingly insistent. They accused him of being selfish, unwilling to support his brother, and even claimed he was trying to overshadow Leon's big day. These accusations hurt deeply, as they seemed to ignore his years of patience and acceptance of their favoritism. In the days leading up to the event, Alex began receiving calls from other family members, many of whom were confused by conflicting stories from his parents. His parents had taken it upon themselves to reach out to relatives, painting Alex as the one creating the conflict. They told people that Alex had deliberately chosen the same date as Leon's celebration to draw attention away from him. To make matters worse, they implied that Alex's choice was out of jealousy, that he was envious of Leon's achievements and seeking to undermine him. Feeling cornered, Alex decided to tell his side of the story. He called his relatives, explaining the years of disparity and how he had always respected his family's choices, even when they didn't support him. His honesty resonated with many of his family members, who had noticed the favoritism over the years but had never intervened. Now, they saw the toll it was taking on Alex and chose to stand by him, attending his engagement party as planned. On the day of the party, Alex was relieved to see the room filled with relatives and friends who supported him. Despite his parents' attempts to sway them, nearly everyone chose to celebrate his happiness over Leon's graduation. The event was filled with love and joy, a moment Alex had longed for, a celebration that was truly his. But his joy was short-lived. The very next morning, his parents and Leon showed up at his door, uninvited and visibly upset. They accused him of breaking up the family, of being spiteful and selfish, and of not caring about his brother's success. The argument escalated quickly, with both his parents and Leon hurling accusations, some even suggesting that Nina was a bad influence on him. Nina, who had quietly supported Alex through all of this, finally spoke up. She calmly told his parents that their behavior was unfair and that she would not tolerate them trying to manipulate Alex's happiness. When they refused to leave, she even threatened to call the police. Alex knew Nina was right, but he also felt a pang of sadness, realizing how deeply his family's actions had hurt not only him but also the woman he loved. After that day, Alex made the difficult decision to cut ties with his parents and Leon. He realized that their relationship had been built on conditions that he could no longer accept. He needed a fresh start, one where his self-worth wasn't constantly questioned. Over the following weeks, he surrounded himself with people who genuinely cared for him, friends, extended family, and Nina's family, who welcomed him as one of their own. In the weeks that followed, Alex faced moments of doubt and sadness. He often wondered if he had made the right choice. Cutting ties with his parents was not easy. There were days when he missed them deeply, the sense of family that had once given him comfort. But he also understood that his decision was necessary for his own well-being. He realized that holding on to toxic relationships only kept him trapped in a cycle of disappointment and pain. Nina stood by his side every step of the way, offering him love and reassurance. She reminded Alex of his worth and the future they were building together. Their engagement became a symbol of hope, a reminder that they were choosing love and happiness, even if it meant leaving behind relationships that no longer served them. Nina's family also played a big role in supporting Alex, welcoming him into their lives and showing him what unconditional love looked like. They celebrated his successes, no matter how big or small, and made him feel like he truly belonged. One day, Nina's father, a man of few words but deep wisdom, sat down with Alex. He shared a story from his own life, about a time when he had to distance himself from his own family because of their inability to support his dreams. He told Alex that sometimes, the hardest choices were the ones that led to the most growth. Family isn't just about blood, he said, it's about the people who stand by you, who lift you up when you're down, and who celebrate your happiness as if it were their own. Hearing this brought Alex a sense of peace. He realized that he wasn't alone in his struggle. Many people faced similar challenges, and the choice to prioritize one's own happiness was a courageous one. Over time, Alex found himself letting go of the resentment he held towards his parents and Leon. He understood that their actions were a reflection of their own limitations, not of his worth. He began to focus on the positive aspects of his life, his loving fiancée, the supportive family he had gained through Nina, and the friends who had stood by him. Alex and Nina's wedding was a beautiful affair, filled with joy, laughter, and love. It was attended by people who truly cared for them, who wanted nothing more than to see them happy. As they exchanged vows, Alex felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had found his own family, one that loved him unconditionally, celebrated his successes, and supported him through his struggles. Reflecting on the experience, Alex came to understand a few important truths. Family loyalty, while important, should never come at the expense of self-respect and happiness. Sometimes, it's necessary to set boundaries with even the closest people in your life, especially if they continuously hurt you. Alex's story is a reminder that love and respect must be mutual. Without them, relationships become a source of pain rather than support. He learned that standing up for himself and his happiness was not selfish, it was an act of self-love. Through his journey, Alex found peace in letting go of the need for approval from those who couldn't offer genuine support. His experience teaches us all that while family relationships are significant, they should never define our worth. True family are those who celebrate our successes, uplift us in tough times, and respect our boundaries. In the end, Alex discovered that the family he had built with Nina was more valuable than the approval he had sought for so long. The lesson here is universal. Sometimes, the people who bring us down the most are the ones closest to us. And while it can be difficult to separate from them, choosing happiness over constant disappointment is often the only way to truly live a fulfilled life. Let Alex's story inspire those who feel trapped by family expectations to find their own path, one filled with joy, self-worth, and the love they deserve. As Alex and Nina embarked on their married life, they made a promise to each other to always communicate openly, to support each other's dreams, and to create a family environment that was filled with love and acceptance. They wanted their future children to grow up feeling valued and supported, to never doubt their worth or feel like they had to compete for love. They wanted to break the cycle of favoritism and conditional love that had defined Alex's upbringing. Years later, when they welcomed their first child, Alex felt a sense of completeness. Holding his baby in his arms, he promised to always be there, to celebrate every milestone, and to offer unconditional love. He understood now, more than ever, the importance of being the kind of parent who uplifts rather than diminishes, who supports rather than judges. He knew that the love he gave his child would shape their sense of self-worth, just as his parents' actions had shaped his. Alex also took time to reflect on his relationship with Leon. He realized that Leon, too, was a victim of their parents' favoritism. The constant praise and lack of accountability had left Leon ill-prepared for the real world, unable to handle failure or take responsibility for his actions. While Alex had learned resilience and independence, Leon had grown up expecting things to be handed to him. In a way, both brothers had suffered because of their parents' inability to offer balanced love and support. One day, Alex reached out to Leon. He knew that their relationship had been strained for years, but he wanted to extend an olive branch. He invited Leon to meet him for coffee, not to rehash old arguments or place blame, but simply to reconnect. To his surprise, Leon accepted the invitation. When they met, it was awkward at first. Years of resentment and misunderstanding hung between them. But as they talked, they began to see each other not as rivals, but as two people who had both been hurt by their upbringing. Leon admitted that he had always envied Alex's independence, his ability to carve out a life for himself without relying on their parents. He confessed that he had often felt lost, unsure of who he was without their constant praise. For the first time, Alex saw his brother not as the golden child who had taken everything from him, but as someone who was also struggling to find his place in the world. They talked for hours, sharing their experiences and the pain they had both felt growing up. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation, but it was a start, a chance to build a new relationship based on understanding rather than competition. Alex learned that forgiveness was not about excusing the hurtful actions of others, but about freeing himself from the burden of resentment. By forgiving his parents and Leon, he was able to let go of the pain that had held him back for so long. He knew that his parents might never change, that they might never fully understand the impact of their actions, but he also knew that he didn't need their approval to be happy. He had built a life filled with love, support, and joy, and that was enough. Through his journey, Alex found strength in vulnerability, courage in setting boundaries, and peace in forgiveness. His story is a testament to the power of choosing oneself, of recognizing one's own worth and refusing to settle for anything less than unconditional love and respect. It's a reminder that while we can't choose the family we're born into, we can choose the family we build, the people we surround ourselves with, and the love we give and receive. In the end, Alex's story is not just about standing up to his parents or cutting ties with toxic relationships. It's about the journey to self-acceptance, the realization that we are all deserving of love and happiness, and the courage to pursue it, even when it means making difficult choices. It's about breaking free from the expectations that others place on us and creating a life that is authentically our own. Let Alex's story be a beacon for anyone who has ever felt overshadowed, undervalued, or unloved. May it inspire you to stand up for yourself, to seek out the people who uplift you, and to build a life that brings you joy. And most importantly, may it remind you that true family is not defined by blood, but by love, respect, and the unwavering support of those who truly care for you.